Hello everyone. Today's topic is electromagnetic induction. What is electromagnetic induction? It is simply a phenomena in which a EMF or the current induces in the circuit when the magnetic field changes in the circuit. Now, why to study this chapter? This chapter is very important because the basic principle of many instruments like AC generator or transformer are based on electromagnetic induction. In this chapter, we will discuss following topics, that is magnetic flux, Faraday's experiment, Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction, Lenz law in accordance with law of conservation of energy. Now, before starting the topic, let's recall what you have learned earlier in the previous chapter. That is, in the magnetic effect of current and magnetism, you have learned that if there is a moving charge or current, then it creates a magnetic field in the space surrounding it. Means a current carrying conductor or a moving charge creates a magnetic field. Electricity and magnetism are interconnected. It was experimentally observed by Oersted and Ampere. The magnetic field so developed, its magnitude and direction was given by Biot-Savart law and Ampere-Circuitor law. Then you have studied that if the moving charge is there in a magnetic field, then magnetic field exerts a force, or a moving charge experience a force due to magnetic field. Similarly, if there is a current in the magnetic field, it also experiences a force. In magnetism, you have studied that if there is a stationary magnet, the magnet is not moving, then it creates a magnetic field around it. As we can see in this diagram, the field lines are there moving from north pole to south pole outside the magnet. So it is creating a magnetic field around it, but there is no electric field created by the stationary magnet. So this is all you have studied earlier in the previous chapter. Now, before starting electromagnetic induction, a very important term is magnetic flux, which we have to discuss. What is magnetic flux? Magnetic flux through any surface is the number of magnetic lines of force passing normally through that surface. It is identical to electric flux, which you have studied in electrostatics. Here we are talking about the magnetic flux. It is crossing a given surface. Look at the first diagram. These are the magnetic field lines, and this is the area through which the field lines are passing. How many field lines are passing normal to this surface is called magnetic flux. If n cap is the direction of normal to this area, and in this first case the magnetic field and area vector are in this normal to the area vector are in the same direction, then the flux is given by B into A. But if the magnetic field and the normal to the area are not in the same direction, in that case the component of magnetic field is to be taken. So it can also be defined as a product of area of the surface and the component of the magnetic field normal to that surface. In that case, the expression becomes BA cos theta. And since B and A both are vector quantity, so we can write flux as B dot A. That is vector B dot vector A. Now, if the magnetic field is not uniform throughout the surface, say in general, we say that the magnetic field may not be uniform. The field may be uniform only for a small area ds. Say for this small area, the field is uniform. So what to do? First we will find out the magnetic flux for this small area, and then we will integrate it throughout the area. And for the small area we get flux as B ds cos theta, and for the entire surface it becomes BA cos theta or B dot A. From this expression we conclude that the flux may be positive, negative or zero. For flux to be positive, magnetic flux to be positive, the angle between the magnetic field or the normal and the normal to the surface must be acute, either lying between 0 to 90 or between 270 to 360. The flux will be 0 when theta is 90, and we can have 0 flux when theta is 270. Negative flux can be observed when theta is between 90 to 270. Maximum flux will be there when theta is 0 degree, and that maximum magnetic flux will be given by BA. Cos theta factor will be 1, so it is flux equal to phi equal to BA. So from this we say that magnetic flux is a scalar quantity. Its SI unit is Weber, that is Tesla meter square. 1 Weber is 1 Tesla meter square. Numerically we can define Weber as 1 Weber is the magnetic flux produced when uniform magnetic field of 1 Tesla acts normally over an area of 1 square meter. In CGS system, the magnetic flux is given by Maxwell, and 1 Maxwell is the magnetic flux produced when uniform magnetic field of 1 Gauss acts normally over an area of 1 square centimeter. In this way, we can relate the CGS unit and SI unit as 1 Maxwell is equal to 10 raised to power minus 8 Weber. Another term is magnetic flux density. It is defined as magnetic flux per unit area. Another name for magnetic flux density is strength of magnetic field or magnetic induction. Now let's discuss how we can change the magnetic flux in a circuit. As the magnetic flux depends upon three factors, and these factors are magnetic field. So if we change the magnetic field, we can change the magnetic flux, or by changing the area of cross section of the coil. Third, the orientation of the coil with the magnetic field, that is theta, or it may be any of the combination of the above. So by this these are different methods by which we can change the magnetic flux linked in a circuit. Now let's talk about Faraday's first experiment. In first experiment, there was a coil wound over a cylinder connected with a galvanometer. A strong magnet was there, and in first case Faraday did an experiment. He brought the north pole of the magnet towards the coil. He observed that there was a deflection in the galvanometer. Deflection in galvanometer means current in the circuit. In second case, he took the small strong magnet stationary, either by keeping it inside the coil or keeping outside, but stationary. He observed that when the magnet is not moving, the galvanometer is also not showing any deflection. Means there will be no current in the coil if the magnet is stationary. In next, he brought this north pole away from the, he moved the North Pole away from the coil. Means when North Pole is receding away from the coil, again the deflection in the galvanometer was observed, that there means there was the current in the circuit. So from this experiment, Faraday concluded that whenever there is a change in, whenever the magnet is moving means whenever there is a change in magnetic flux, the galvanometer is showing deflection, means the current gets induced in the circuit. This may be explained by this diagram. When the North Pole is approaching towards the coil, the flux is increasing, so flux is changing, and the galvanometer is showing deflection, means current gets induced in the circuit. When the North Pole is receding away from the coil, the flux is decreasing, and again the current is there induced in the circuit. The flux linked with the coil changes relative to the position of the coil and the magnet due to magnetic lines of force cutting at different angles at the same cross-sectional area of the coil. And it also depends upon the relative velocity between the coil and the magnet. If the magnet is moving faster, the current which was realized in the galvanometer was more. Now in second experiment, he took two coils, one called primary, another called secondary. The primary coil was connected with the battery and with a tapping key. The secondary coil was connected with the galvanometer. What he observed, that while tapping the key means when the current starts growing in the primary coil, the galvanometer and the secondary coil is showing deflection. What does it mean? That when the current starts growing from 0 to maximum value, the flux starts increasing. And when the flux starts increasing in the primary, so the flux will also increase in secondary. Means there is a change in magnetic flux when the current starts growing in the circuit from 0 to maximum value. And when the current becomes maximum, what will happen? Again the galvanometer will show null deflection. So this changing magnetic flux is linked across the secondary coil and induces EMF and hence induced current in the secondary coil. Induced EMF or current and hence deflection in the galvanometer will last only as long as the current in the primary coil and hence magnetic flux in the secondary coil changes. Means if the key has been tapped for the longer time, the current which is flowing in the prime will become steady. Means then there will be no change in the magnetic flux in primary as well as in secondary. So it has been observed that the deflection in the galvanometer was there only when the key has been tapped. Similarly, when the key has been released, again it has been observed that deflection was there in the galvanometer, but now the deflection was in the opposite direction, because during this period of changing current induces a changing magnetic flux across the primary coil. This changing magnetic flux is linked across the secondary coil and induces EMF or current in the secondary coil. However, the direction of current in the primary coil is reversed, as we see with the in the previous case. So now, if during means the whole conclusion is that when we tap the key, when the current grows, galvanometer shows deflection, and when the key has been released, galvanometer again shows the deflection, but now in the opposite direction. In third experiment, there was a coil connected with the galvanometer coil is having number of turns. Another coil, which is a current carrying coil, is brought towards the secondary coil, and it has been observed that if the relative velocity between the two coils is more, then the current will be large in the secondary coil. So from these three experiments, Faraday gave two laws of electromagnetic induction. The first law states that whenever there is a change in magnetic flux linked with a circuit, an EMF and hence a current is induced in the circuit. However, it lasts as long as the magnetic flux is changing. Means whenever there is a change in magnetic flux linked with the coil, an induced EMF or current will develop in it. And the second law says that the induced EMF so produced, the magnitude of that induced EMF is directly proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux linked with the circuit. More the rate of change, faster the change in the magnetic flux, more will be the induced EMF, hence induced current. This can be expressed mathematically as E proportional to d phi by dt, rate of change of magnetic flux with respect to time. D phi means small change in magnetic flux with small interval of time. If the proportionality sign has been removed, we get a constant k, but this constant k will be such, the units of will be chosen such that the value of k will always be unity. So we get this EMF as d phi by dt or phi 2 minus phi 1 upon t, the change in flux in a given duration of time. So these are the two laws of electromagnetic induction. You must have realized that in these two laws, it was seen that the current is there in the circuit. Current gets induced in the circuit due to change in magnetic flux. But Faraday was not able to give what should be the direction of current and why the direction of current is getting reversed if the condition gets reversed. So this was further studied by Lenz, and he gave the another law of electromagnetic induction known as third law, that is Lenz law of EMI. This law gives the direction of induced EMF or induced current, and what Lenz said, that the direction will be such that it always opposes the change that is producing it. Means if the current is induced due to motion of the magnet, then induced current in the coil sets itself to stop the motion of the magnet. So look at this diagram. If the north pole is approaching towards the coil, the direction of the coil current will set up in the coil in such a manner that it will create a north polarity towards the magnet, so that this north and north will repel, and this will be north polarity will be there only when the current is flowing in a counterclockwise direction. So this is how the direction of current has been given according to Lenz law. Similarly, in the second case, when the current is growing in the circuit in the primary coil, in the secondary coil the direction of current should be such that it will create a north polarity. Means in this also the current starts flowing in a counterclockwise direction, so that north or north will repel. So it always opposes the cause. If the north pole of the magnet is approaching, or if the magnetic flux is growing, in both the cases the current starts flowing in a anti-clockwise direction to create the north polarity towards the end of the magnet, towards the side of the magnet, or towards the side of the primary coil. So as the north pole of the bar magnet moves towards the coil, the magnetic flux through the coil increases. Hence, current is induced in the coil in such a direction that it opposes the increase in flux. This is possible only if the current in the coil is in the counterclockwise direction. With respect to observer situated on the side of the magnet, the magnetic moment associated with the current has north polarity towards the north pole of the approaching magnet. Similarly, if north pole of the magnet is being withdrawn, is receding away from the coil, then the magnetic flux through the coil will decrease. To counter this decrease in the magnetic flux, the induced current in the coil flows in a clockwise direction, and its south pole faces the receding north pole of the bar magnet. This would result in the attractive force which opposes the motion of the magnet and the corresponding decrease in the flux. So from this we can easily say that whenever the flux is increasing means north pole is approaching, the direction of current from that end will be in a counterclockwise direction. If south pole is approaching or if the north pole is receding, then the direction of current and from that end of the coil will be in a clockwise direction. So you can see that if north pole is approaching, it will create a north pole and the direction of coil is anti-clockwise. If the north pole is moving away, south pole will create so as to oppose the cause of current. So this is Lenz's law, which says that the direction of current in the circuit will be such that it always opposes its cause. Now, this Lenz's law is in accordance with the law of conservation of energy. How it is there? Let's see. According to Lenz's law, the induced EMF opposes the change that produces it. It is this opposition against which we perform mechanical work in causing the change in the magnetic flux. Means when the north pole is approaching, there is an opposition. So to overcome this opposition, the work has to be done, and this work done is in the form of mechanical energy. Therefore, mechanical energy is converted into electrical energy, and we can say that the Lenz's law is in accordance with the law of conservation of energy. Suppose that the reverse would happen. Suppose that it is not opposing the cause. Then what would have been happening in the coil? The induced current was in, suppose we say that the induced current is in the direction of, in the opposite direction. Means when the north pole is approaching, let the current is in the clockwise direction. So when the north pole is approaching, in that case south pole, due to induced current, if it will flow in the clockwise direction, south pole will face the approaching north pole of the magnet, and the bar magnet will then be attracted towards the coil at an ever increasing acceleration. Means by small increase in giving acceleration to the north pole will automatically attract towards the south pole. Means a gentle push on the magnet will initiate the process, and its velocity and kinetic energy will be continuously increasing without expending any energy. So definitely this violates the law of conservation of energy. Hence this cannot be happen. So Lenz's law says that it always opposes cause. Otherwise it will violate law of conservation of energy. So this is all about today's topic. Now let's discuss some assignments, some questions, assignment for the day. There are two magnets. The north pole of this magnet is towards the coil. This coil is connected with the capacitor AB. The south pole of this magnet is towards the coil, towards the right side of the coil. The north pole is approaching from the left side of the coil, right? You have to predict the polarity of the capacitor. The capacitor has two plates A and B. So you have to tell about the polarity of the capacitor, which plate will be positive and which will be negative. So here we have to use Lenz's law. When the north pole is approaching, this end which is towards this magnet will have current in a anti-clockwise direction, so as to produce north polarity. Here the current should be such that south is approaching, so it should be in a clockwise direction, so that it will produce south polarity at this end. So in this way we can find out the direction of current in the coil, and so we can say about the polarity of the capacitor. I hope you will be able to do this question. In second question, a current passing through a wire in the direction from Q to P is increasing. The current is increasing from Q to P. What is the direction of induced current in the metallic loop kept above the wire? So you have to tell about the direction of current in the metallic loop. So again, this is an example of Lenz's law. Okay? So this is about question 2. Question 3. Two identical loops, one of copper and another of constant length, are removed from a magnetic field within the same time interval. Removed means initially there was some flux, now the flux is decreasing and finally it is becoming zero. There is a change in flux. So if there is a change in flux, induced EMF and hence induced current will develop. You have to tell in which loop will the induced current be smaller. So this is according to second law, Faraday's second law of EMI. E is proportional to d phi by dt. Current is given by E by R. So this induced current d phi by dt is same in both the cases. So this induced current is depending upon the resistance. So if you compare the resistance of copper and constant length, you will be able to give the answer. Fourth question. A magnet moved in a direction indicated by arrow between two coils A and B. Suggest the direction of current in each coil. So this is again a question of Lenz's law. You have to tell about the direction of current in the coil will be such that it opposes its cause. Here if the north is approaching, at this end C, the direction of current should be such that it creates north polarity here. Here the south pole is receding away from this coil, so to oppose, north polarity has to be developed in this coil AB. So this is all about today's topic. Thank you.